Thanks so much for tuning in to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez, getting ready for this MAHA event, this commission report that will be released here at the White House. We're going to look forward to that. Of course, the HHS Secretary RFK Jr. will be there and others as we get ready to hear about this commission report, this release of information for our country. Of course, we're going to go to Carolyn Levitt as well. She has about a minute description of today's meeting, so we'll have that in just a minute. We have a number of live interviews to get to, but making those national and international headlines, of course, from last night in Washington, D.C., 30-year-old Yaron Lashinsky and 26-year-old Sarah Milgram. Lashinsky, a devout Christian, Milgram, a devout Jew, together, and they were about to go to Jerusalem to be engaged as well. And this heinous act happens. So what we want to do is we have the photo of them as well, Yaron and Sarah, but I do want to get to Troy Miller, who is the president of the National Religious Broadcasters. Troy, thanks again for joining us live here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Well, thanks for having me today.
Your thoughts about this terrible incident yesterday?
Well, terrible incident, terrible tragedy. These two young people struck down in the prime of their life, as you said, about ready to go to Jerusalem. He had already purchased the ring. He's going to propose. It's supposed to be just this happy time. They were, just at an event last night, like any of us would be when we're in D.C. And then suddenly this radical comes out and their life's over. It's a terrible, terrible event. And our prayers go out to their families, all of us in the Christian community.
Exactly. It's just unbelievable to hear that happening. But also what we see is the woke mind virus. We see the evil in the world, and we see it combined into that one human being who, for whatever reason, whether it was the woke mind virus plus, that evil or whatever that brainwashing was, decides to go and do that. But here's the thing. We know, you and I and many of our viewers know that there is an afterlife, there is a heaven, and we know that those two,
right.
We're looking forward to it. Whenever we all pass or Jesus comes back or whatever happens, we're going to see them again. What a beautiful couple they were. And I was hearing some reports about the Israeli embassy that there's just this magic about the two at the embassy. And they were just really good-hearted people. And so isn't that what we see out there? Really good-hearted people doing great things for our country, for Israel, and then you have somebody going in there and committing this heinous act. It's that good versus evil all over again, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Look, two young people who had dedicated their life to the country they loved, both countries they loved. I mean, they were both American patriotic, and they loved their country. They loved Israel, and they loved their faith and their religion. They were happy in life. I actually had a friend text me this morning who knew them personally. He said, you couldn't have known a lovelier set of people, just kind heart in everything they're doing. And then, like you said, the tragedy is the evil, just the evil. Somebody who doesn't even know these people, doesn't have a grudge against them, doesn't have anything. There's nothing there. He just indiscriminately walks up and ends their life. Look, this radicalization, anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism has to stop in this country. We're going to call on the Justice Department. They have to start to crack down. The president's done a great job with these colleges and across the countries and universe, but they have to stop down on this radicalism of these chants from the river to the sea. That violates directly the FBI's hate crimes law. And so this has to stop.
Yeah, and then there are people that are supporting Hamas, which, we see that, again, brainwashed, woke mind virus, evil, whatever you want to call it, all of that in one. So yeah, we're going to have to see the DOJ, the FBI. We see it already from the commander-in-chief. We see it from hopefully local law enforcement, the county sheriff's offices, undercover detectives, whoever it can be. Because when you are speaking, here's the thing. Freedom of speech, we still have it in this country, but there is a line. If you start crossing the line of violence or threats to other people, that is against the law. It's simple.
Yep. It's simple. Anybody can go to the FBI's webpage and just look up hate crime, and it tells you where the line is. Supreme Court's already decided if you're going to incite violence, if you're calling for the genocide of a certain people, if you're calling for the murder of people, that's a hate crime. That's crossing the line. You can talk about Palestine, you can talk about policy and everything else, but when you start to cross that line and then that pours over into innocent people's lives, that's beyond tragedy. I think you called it evil. I don't think there's a better word out there to call it than just pure evil.
Yeah, and it is specifically, and because we're on Right Side Broadcasting Network, we could say it this way, it's from the pit of hell. And that's what's really happening. It's from the pit of hell. The enemy himself doesn't want anybody to be alive, let's be honest. I mean, some of these doctrines and ideologies really are like depopulation and just getting rid of the masses. I mean, there's some very dark, terrible things out there, and some of it comes at the surface when you have this idiot that goes and does this terrible thing yesterday.
Well, that's the interesting thing about what we've seen lately is, people have to understand this is a real clash of religious worldviews. This goes back. That's the root of what's going on here. This is not about a land power, land grab. This isn't even really about hate against a race or a certain people, because we've seen the far left, the secular atheist left, come together with a radical Islamist, to really, perpetrate this, especially against the Jewish people, but also against Christians. This young man was a Christian. I doubt the shooter knew that. But look, this is what happens again. This is what happens when you take these evil minds, these people that have been indoctrinated, and then you give a call to action. And that's what's been happening with these radical protests that have been going on, and a lot of posts that are on social media. There have been specific calls to action to eliminate Jewish people, and our government hasn't spoken up enough about it. And I can tell you what, the left needs to speak up about it, and Muslim leaders need to speak up about it as well.
President Trump on Truth Social said these horrible DC killings based obviously on anti-Semitism must end now. Hatred and radicalism have no place in the USA. Condolences to the families of the victims. President Trump went on to say, so sad that such things as this could happen. God bless you all. It's a difficult time because, I was looking at all of the mainstream media and the conservative media, after the press conference with Carolyn Levitt, right? So I'm checking out what everybody's talking about. There are some that talk about this story, and then there's some that just kind of go, well, that was the 15 minutes that we needed to give it. Let's move on. And so that 24/7 fast pace of this BS mainstream media, they always want to go pick something else. You remember, did you see this yesterday, Troy? When the NBC reporter at the Oval Office decides to redirect an entire moment about the South African situation with the white farmers, and he asks about the 747 airplane. That's exactly what the mainstream media loves to do, isn't it? You hit it on the head right there. That's exactly what they love to do. Deflect, gaslight, get off the topic. Look, the same thing happened. Look, the bombing in Florida, of the fertility clinic. The minute they found out that wasn't some far-right radical pro-lifer, that it was actually one of these, anti-population environmentalists that did that story was buried. You haven't seen an ounce in the mainstream media about that story. And the sad part is this story in the mainstream media, you won't see anything out on it after today either. But Christian media, I can tell you from our standpoint, we are not going to let this go. We are not going to be silent about this. We are going to speak up on behalf of our Jewish brothers and sisters, and we're going to keep the pressure on this until these radicals are really brought under control. And that's exactly what we the people want to see in this country, and that's the majority of the nation. So for maybe those that don't like that, they could also move to a different country, maybe, like some have. But outside of that, we still want to have that invitation to those on the left, say, hey, listen, we do want to be united. We do want peace in this country. We do want, to win here, and hopefully their minds would be open to something like that. But outside of that, yes, prosecutions need to happen. No more of this craziness that's happening. Now, to your point about the IVF fertility clinic in Palm Springs, I believe it was California, that as well, if you look at beneath the surface, yet another very evil act against life. You know, and that's what we see out there. And these are the things that the mainstream media, they kind of like it, unfortunately. And I'll say that on the record. I don't care, because their actions speak louder than words, just like yesterday, as there is a reporter, Peter Alexander with NBC, inside the highest office of the land, the Oval Office, right after showing these horrific images from South Africa, the graves, the crosses of people that have died. And then when that moment is there, and people are like, holy smokes, what did I just watch? And then he has the nerve to say to President Trump, what about the 747 Qatari airplane?
Right. Just what kind of cold heart does it take to do that? To look at this whole situation, as you said, and I give the president again so much credit for bringing these issues to light. The fact of what he did in the White House to bring the situation that's going on in South Africa, to shine a light on that. Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. President. Keep it up. He's done the same thing with anti-Semitism. But the cold-hearted left media, they have one agenda and one agenda only. I hate Trump. Period. That's it. That's all they have. And really, and he said it, and I believe it, behind that is, I hate the average American person. I really do. That's really what they're telling us. They don't care about what's going on to real people in South Africa. They don't care what's going on to Jewish people on the streets of this country. They certainly don't care what's happening in Israel. They just care about their own agenda, and that elitist agenda of, I know what's better for you than you do, so shut up and listen to me, and let's talk about what I want to talk about, and everything else, nothing else matters.
Their agenda is rooted in the pits of hell. That's just facts. It really is.
Fact.
Isn't it a fact, Troy?
Absolutely a fact. It is. That's why I said it's a clash of worldviews, and their worldview, their secular atheist worldview, it comes right from the pit of hell. It comes from the fact they don't respect anybody else. They don't respect life. They don't respect any kind of objective morality. They don't any of this. Nothing. They just care about their power and their intellect and their elitism, and that's what goes atop everything.
Troy Miller, the president of the National Religious Broadcasters, thank you so much again, sir, for joining us right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely. You know, it's a heavy topic, I know, but it's something that needs to be discussed, especially after what we just saw last night with the killings of these Israeli embassy staffers. The man, Yaron Alishinsky, a devout Christian, about to ask the lady that he was dating, to marry him next week in Jerusalem. She's Jewish, he's Christian. They're about to get married, a beautiful thing. And then guess what happens? We saw what happened yesterday with that cold-blooded, terrible thing. So, again, I said it on Truth Social, and I can only wear my heart on my sleeve when it comes to this stuff, because how else can you really report when you really got to see what's going on out there and just tell it like it is? But we will see them again in heaven, and they did look like a beautiful couple. Obviously, I didn't know them, but everything that I've read, there were some great people right there. So they will be missed. It is 3:19 here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Now, speaking of health, though, outside of those tragedies, we're looking at Make America Healthy Again. So that's what today's commission event is going to be all about. We're going to see President Trump there here shortly. Also, before we get to our next great interview when it comes to Making America Healthy Again, we're talking about all family pharmacy in just a second. Director, could we go to Carolyn Levitt quickly? It's a 1-minute soundbite from her talking about what today's event is all about. So, Director, could we get that? All right, let's go to that right now.
After today's briefing, President Trump will hold a Make America Healthy Again event alongside Secretary Kennedy and several other cabinet secretaries to unveil the MAHA Commission report. President Trump wants every child in America to grow up and to live a long and healthy life. That's why he's working alongside Secretary Kennedy to end the chronic disease epidemic to keep our children healthy, safe, and disease-free. The MAHA Commission report is a historic assessment the first of its kind by any presidential administration, of current evidence and research about the health crisis affecting America's children. This report is a review of pre-existing research to comprehensively assess what we understand about our health problems and what we don't understand, and how we can find those answers. All of the findings will be based on the gold standard of science. And I think I speak for all MAHA moms across the country when I say we look forward to the president's event and remarks later this afternoon.
Okay, so it is later this afternoon. So that's a little bit about this commission report that's going to be talked about at 4 o'clock. It's 3:21 on the East Coast. Thanks again for streaming in live with us. All of this brought to you by some great sponsors. And speaking of making America healthy again, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. First of all, the sale goes until the end of June, 20% off there. RSBN 20 is the code. Ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, methylene blue, more than, get this, 200 essential medications that you're able to access there. You fill out some medical online paperwork. It's very quick. Also, there are antibiotics. And, you know, when some doctors and pharmacies just say, oh, no, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, no, that's not for this. And you know that other doctors or other, at least especially conservative ones, say, no, ivermectin works great for that, or hydroxychloroquine works great for that. They also have, you know, amoxicillin, penicillin, some of the basic medications you can actually order in bulk as well. So that's pretty awesome. So it's 3:22, but before we go off that there, well, we just did, that's okay. 20% off. RSBN is the code there, RSBN 20. Speaking of All Family Pharmacy, this is a perfect broadcast to bring on the owner, the founder of All Family Pharmacy. The owner is Michael Kunler. As soon as we get him on the screen here, we'll go to him live, and there he is. Michael, thanks so much for joining us as we switch the program there. Michael, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited for this.
Yeah, definitely. Can you talk to us a little bit about just the 30,000-foot view of All Family Pharmacy? For those that are watching, they're saying, I want to watch this MAHA event, and now here you are. So go ahead and share with us. It's just all about All Family Pharmacy.
Yeah, so All Family Pharmacy is a independent, privately owned pharmacy, family owned. It's owned by my brother and I. We're business partners here. We started this thing from the ground up, end of 2019, early 2020 during the pandemic. Obviously, probably the hardest time in history to start a business during that pandemic. So we started, we were dispensing ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine on behalf of America's frontline doctors. We were working with patients all over the United States. And I could tell you, from experience, how frustrated these people were that they had to call the great state of Florida to get their ivermectin, to get their hydroxychloroquine, and to get their antibiotics. They couldn't rely on their local pharmacies because of these corporate chains, because of big pharma. It was very sad to see and watch, but, we built the business to help those who really needed it the most during the pandemic. And that's who All Family Pharmacy is, medical freedom.
I wish I would have known about you guys back a couple years ago, because my wife and I had COVID during Christmas, and ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, man, as soon as we felt those symptoms, we would have taken those medications. But thank God we know about you now, allfamilypharmacy.com. So if President Trump's plan to lower drug prices really takes off, which it looks like it may, how do you see the future of pharmacy changing?
I see a big future, and I think it could be for a lot of different entities outside of pharmacies, for physicians, for doctors, for hospitals, but specifically independent pharmacies such as ourselves. These are private-owned pharmacies, small businesses who are the backbone of the U.S. economy. It could be huge for us because it's going to level the playing field with all these corporate pharmacies who get all these discounts, who get all these drug rebates, who get cheaper prices on drugs when they go to purchase it. If I go to purchase an EpiPen and sell it, I have to sell it for $200 for 2 pens. That's unfortunate for the consumer. Why are they paying so much money for an emergency medication? Eliquis. Why is Eliquis a very rare but very used blood thinner that saves people's lives? Why is it $700 for that one medication? It should not be that way. You can get it overseas for a fraction of the cost from the same drug manufacturers. The prices here in America should be the same, and that'll help independent pharmacies such as ourselves be able to provide pricing transparency. You'll be able to see affordable pricing, which is huge for our network.
That's true. I mean, also, how do you think the most favored nation pricing policy affect the cost of medications for your customers, though?
Yeah, so basically, President Trump wants the drug manufacturers to level that playing field. Whatever you pay in Turkey, or the consumer pays in Turkey for an Eli Lilly drug, a United States citizen should pay the same exact price here. And, that's based around what part of the bill is. The other part of the bill is allowing compounding pharmacies. We're a compounding pharmacy. We can make a replica drug, what the drug manufacturer makes, at a fraction of the cost. That's what we do with ivermectin now. People complained, in 2020 about the prices of ivermectin because it's skyrocketed because of supply and demand. There's only one drug manufacturer, so they controlled the prices. The price shot through the roof. We were selling it. These people were upset. So what we did is we went in and compounded it in higher doses. We compounded it specific to the patient's needs. And we dropped the price significantly just by compounding it. And that is another portion of that bill, is allowing more flexibility with compounding pharmacies such as ourselves.
You answered a number of the questions I had too. And at the end of the day, people are wondering, is there amoxicillin, penicillin, and all the other basic essential medications as well? I know ivermectin is one of those that's not so easy to get, but the other day I was at the dentist and I had some toothache and they gave me some amoxicillin. It knocked whatever that was right out with the gum and all that. So could I go to you and just fill out some medical paperwork and say amoxicillin, and you have a doctor that would prescribe it to me?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We highly suggest it. We want you to be proactive, not reactive. We want you to have that medication when you need it the most. And amoxicillin is one of them. The Z-Paks as well. When spring comes around, when flu season comes around, everybody should have an antibiotic. Every sickness is not a bacterial infection, but there are a lot of bacterial infections that come out during flu season and during the spring season. And you should definitely have that ability to have it right away, because nowadays you've got to go to the doctor. That could take anywhere between 1 and 3 days. And then for them to send it to your local pharmacy, and you're sitting at the pharmacy with a bunch of sick people who are in line for the same exact medication, or they're in line to be tested for COVID or for flu, or they're getting vaccinated, whatever the case may be. With us, All Family Pharmacy, we ship you the medications directly to your door. We have our own doctors who are like-minded like us. These are physicians who care about medical freedom, and they care about their patients, but they also care about the safety of their patients. So they do thoroughly review the profiles, and they do contact you as needed. They'll go through these consultations with you to help make sure that you're taking the medication as necessary. And then we have a list of pharmacists that work here on our grounds. There's 4 of them. At CVS, you have 1 pharmacist. All Family Pharmacy, we have 4. You can speak to a pharmacist to make sure you're doing the medication, you're taking the medication correctly. And if you're having side effects, we can help you subside with those side effects or combat them. There are so many different ways that All Family Pharmacy can help you with medications that you really, truly need.
Pardon my lack of knowledge for this next question, but I don't know everything about drug and pharmacies and all that stuff. But so if I were to go to another pharmacist, right, and I was getting amoxicillin, but if I went to you and I got amoxicillin, is that the same exact maker and pill? Is there different kinds of elements in each? Like, can you talk to us about that? Break that down a little bit with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So the amoxicillin you get with us is the exact same amoxicillin you get at your local pharmacy. It could be a different drug manufacturer. There's anywhere between 5 and 10 at any given time, depending upon the strength that you're purchasing. Some people want tablets, some people want capsules. That'll also, determine the manufacturer. But at the end of the day, the medication is the same. It's the same whether you get it from us or you get it from CVS or Walmart or Walgreens.
Awesome. Can you talk to us about the exclusive right now? You're talking RSBN 20 gets 20% off to the end of, is it June or July? It's June, right?
The end of June. So we're going to play this month by month. President Trump announced price cutting. The price cutting has not come into play yet, which obviously some of these bills, they take a little bit of time. And then if the Supreme Court gets involved, then it gets delayed. We're jumping in right away. We usually do a 10% off. We're now issuing a 20% off to start. Possibly even lowering the prices come sooner. These coupons will help all Americans. We have so many senior citizens who come to us who are just on Social Security, and we have these conversations with them. And it's sad. It's sad what the government has done to them over the years. And these people, they unfortunately just cannot afford these medications. Their insurance doesn't want to pay for it. Their doctor doesn't want to sign for it. And then they come to All Family Pharmacy for help, and we're trying to help as much as possible. We believe this coupon is just a stepping stone into cutting drug prices. And this is how we're going to start. We're going to start cutting the prices slowly but surely while the legal work does, their job with Donald Trump and President Trump and his initiative.
If you're just joining us right now, this is Michael Kunler with All Family Pharmacy, the founder, the owner. And before I let you go, Michael, question about the different medical kits that you guys have to offer. Can you share with us some of those as we're moving forward? I know we can order in bulk or we can just order a few, but tell us about those kits.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can, like you said, you can customize your options, but you could just order one medication. You can order 10 medications. You can also go into our custom kits, which are our emergency kits. We have one for travel. We have one for flu season. We have an emergency kit if you're, hiking, you're traveling outside of the United States. There are other diseases, other bacterias, viruses that you got to combat, whether it's there or it's here. Altitude sickness medication if you want to go skiing. We have a lot of different kits designed around different lifestyles. A lot of them are specific to travel because nowadays you go outside the United States, you come home, you're sick for 7 days. You can't afford to miss work. We can't afford to miss school with the kids. This is something that we love pushing is these kits, just solely because they're customized for your lifestyle. And then if the kit doesn't fit your needs, you can go right to our main page and order whatever medication you think fits your needs, as long as it's safe and effective. So
it's great to have the RSBN All Family Pharmacy partnership. And sometimes when we go to commercial break, we see Don Jr. on there. What's it like to have Trump partnering with you guys?
We love it. Don Jr. is the best. Highly spoken. He's a great guy. We love having him as a sponsor, as an advertiser. He's been great to us, and we hope that we've been great to him and his viewers. That is, our number one goal is to make sure that we take care of the viewers as we advertise. We've got no complaints from his team. We're working with a very large amount of conservatives, RSBN being one of them. We've had great success with you guys, and we've hoped that you've had great success with us and that we're doing right by your viewers, making sure we take care of them and, making sure they're healthy and they have the medication on hand when it's truly needed.
That's perfect. More than 200 essential medications, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and others. Thank you, sir. Michael Kunler, the founder and owner of All Family Pharmacy. Thank you again for joining us on Right Side.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you, sir. So it's 3:33, Thursday, May 22nd. So it's the bottom of the hour here on the afternoon. Getting ready. It's Friday Eve, so it's almost Happy Friday. A lot of things going on this weekend. Saturday, the president will be in West Point, New York for the Army grads. That commencement speech will be live right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. So check out, as they said in the olden days, your local listings. But I believe he'll be speaking around 10:15 on Saturday morning. So we'll be live prior to that here at the network. So looking forward to seeing you here for that coverage. Also on June 14th, the president will be, of course, speaking and just watching this great Army parade celebrating 250 years for the Army. More than 6,000 soldiers involved, hundreds of vehicles, helicopters, starting out in Arlington, Virginia, going to the National Mall, then over to the Pentagon with fireworks to follow. So we'll have all of that coverage here on Saturday, June 14th. So a couple more Saturdays of coverage coming up for you. On top of that, Carolyn Levitt actually shared a lot of specifics about the president's schedule. So let's get to that. This coming Monday, May 26th, Memorial Day, Arlington National Cemetery, there'll be a wreath-laying ceremony with President Trump there, of course. We will have that coverage for you. Also, looking forward to June 15th to the 17th, the president will be attending the G7 in Canada. So a lot of coverage coming up, just some of the highlights of the programming schedules there. Of course, day in and day out, we're here for you as we cover various conferences and press conferences and the like. I mean, yesterday's South Africa Oval Office meeting was quite must-watch streaming. It reminded me of the last time there was that many fireworks in the Oval Office was when Zelensky was visiting just a couple months back. But That was quite the coverage that we had here yesterday. All right, let's go again as we re-rack a little bit of information to you. At 3:45, 10 more minutes from now, this event will be starting, all about making America healthy again. So it's a MAHA Commission event where the findings of a historic report will be released. This is inside the East Room of the White House. So President Trump will be obviously there, RFK Jr. and others in that East Room of the White House. We'll have that live for you in its entirety, just like we had Carolyn Levitt's press briefing just a little bit ago. We had that for you as well. But before we go to any more live videos and recorded videos, let's go to a commercial break. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you in a minute.
You've heard how hard it can be to get access to medications like ivermectin, all the things they don't want you to take because they're actually effective and they don't cost all that much, right? You've seen that one before. So it's critical to have something like that on hand for any emergency and to be prepared in a time of crisis. And that's why I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They're cutting through the nonsense and they make it easy to get hard to find medications when you need them most. They'll provide the prescription, no hoops to jump through, no waiting room, no hassle, and they deliver it right to your door. All Family Pharma even lets you order in bulk so you can stay ahead of the curve. Head over to allfamilypharmacy.com for 10% off your first order. Again, allfamilypharmacy.com. It's simple. Get the 10% savings. Be prepared.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, the 91-year-old formulator of Immuno 150, an incredible nutritional supplement. There's nothing like it. Now, Immuno 150 is different because it contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 other nutrients. Dr. Linus Pauling, known for vitamin C, was instrumental in convincing me to get into the mineral business in 1983. He said the world is sick due to a lack of minerals in topsoil. He said the body needs 60 minerals, but the average food and supplement has no more than 12. That's the reason for Immuno 150. Since its inception, it's had a powerful impact on the lives of thousands of people who could not get any help from various supplements they took or their doctor. Now I suggest you try Immuno 150 to see what 70 minerals, CoQ10, and 80 nutrients can do for you. Look at the 2 videos on our website. Millions have. Now consider placing an order for Immuno 150 online or call our toll-free number. I know you'll be glad you did.
It's 3:38 on the East Coast. Thanks so much for joining us here on RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Again, thank you for joining us. All right, so let's look at this. It's Throwback Thursday. Why not? Let's do a little segment there. Let's go back to, I believe it was 2015, when we saw the following. Well, let me bring it back just a little bit more. I was at Trump Tower and I saw the golden escalators. This is where it all started. So let's just take a video of what it's like, or a look at what it's like to go down the escalators. Take a look. I don't know. I thought it was fun. But it was really cool to see the actual golden escalators there at Trump Tower. So I put that on Truth Social earlier today, just a Throwback Thursday. Let's do one more quickly. Let's go to September 8th, 2023, when President Trump was about to speak in Rapid City, South Dakota. Before he spoke, I caught this video. Check it out. Wow, remember those days, those great rallies around the country? That was just one of them in South Dakota in 2023. So it's Throwback Thursday. Just want to have a fun little segment there for just a hot second. As we're about 5 minutes away from going to the East Room of the White House, where we're going to see President Trump, we're going to see RFK Jr., the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and we'll have that in its entirety. Let's look at a number of other top headlines that we're following here. Of course, the big, beautiful bill has passed in the House. Thank God. Hopefully it will pass now in the Senate so it can go to President Trump's desk and get that thing signed. I'm looking forward to lower taxes. I don't know about you. I'm looking forward to that. And at 3:45, of course, in that few minutes, we'll be going to the White House Also making the national and international headlines is the tragedy that unfolded yesterday in Washington, D.C. after some sort of woke mind virus radical took the lives of 30-year-old Yaron Lashinsky and 26-year-old Sarah Milgram. The two were actually about to be engaged. He just got the ring, and then he's going to ask her to marry him next week in Jerusalem. And we saw that the outcome has changed. And a lot of people saying a lot of very nice things and great things about this lovely couple. People that worked at the embassy, other people that knew the two. I know that Yaron, he was a devout Christian, and then Sarah Milgram, a devout Jew, and found love, and we're about to get married. And then we have some radical doing what he did yesterday. So we do know that the DOJ, the FBI, DHS, President Trump, everybody understands what's going on there, because President Trump said these horrible DC killings based obviously on anti-Semitism must end now. Hatred and radicalism have no place in the USA. President Trump saying this on Truth Social. He says condolences to the families of the victims. So sad that such things as this can happen. He says, God bless you all. So definitely a difficult story there. I actually was outside the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. just last year, just as a journalist and as a, that's the wrong video, guys, as a tourist, and just checked out what the embassy looked like, because, you know, as a journalist and a tourist, I'm interested in seeing different sites, right? And I remember being outside of the embassy there, and there were a lot of Palestinian flags and Free Palestine, different kind of signs right outside the embassy. And it was difficult to see that. But I'm not going to get into a long monologue on all of this. I'll leave that to Charlie Kirk, who just did a great job out there in the UK the other day. He was in a debate with somebody in front of a whole bunch of people, and really just rocking it for our country, rocking it for Israel and the truth. As we know, this is a good versus evil thing, and we're hoping for the best coming up here in our country, as we have, more than 3 years of President Trump leading the way. So looking forward to a lot of that, a lot of the wins that he has done already over the past, 120 days or so. All right, let's go to Carolyn Levitt. She was talking about this Make America Healthy Again Commission report earlier today at the press briefing. Let's go ahead and take a look at that video right now.
After today's briefing, President Trump will hold a Make America Healthy Again event alongside Secretary Kennedy and several other cabinet secretaries to unveil the MAHA Commission report. President Trump wants every child in America to grow up and to live a long and healthy life. That's why he's working alongside Secretary Kennedy to end the chronic disease epidemic, to keep our children healthy, safe, and disease-free. The MAHA Commission report is a historic assessment, the first of its kind by any presidential administration, of current evidence and research about the health crisis affecting America's children. This report is a review of pre-existing research to comprehensively assess what we understand about our health problems and what we don't understand, and how we can find those answers. All of the findings will be based on the gold standard of science. And I think I speak for all MAHA moms across the country when I say we look forward to the president's event and remarks later this afternoon.
Carolyn Levitt from the White House press briefing from earlier today, talking about everything you're about to see here in about maybe 60 seconds from now. As soon as we see a live feed from the White House for this MAHA event, we'll go there in its entirety. And of course, we'll be able to replay the press briefing if needed coming up here as we continue to stand by for today's White House MAHA event. Now, what they are saying about the one big beautiful bill as it clears the House, President Trump's bill, a once-in-a-generation opportunity to cement an America First agenda of prosperity, opportunity, and security into law. So it's one step closer to the finish line following its passage by the House of Representatives. Here's what people are saying that have pretty big positions out there and titles out there. The American Farm Bureau Federation President, Zippy Duvall, says Farm Bureau applauds the House passage of H.R. 1, which modernizes Farm Bill programs and extends and improves critical tax provisions that benefit America's small farmers and ranchers. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce Executive Vice President Neil Bradley. The House sent a clear message today. American workers and businesses want and need permanent tax relief. A competitive pro-growth tax code doesn't just grow the overall U.S. economy, it raises wages for workers and improves the lives of Americans. The Airlines for America also chimed in. The National Cattlemen's Beef Association president also said positive things. The Uber CEO said, big news from D.C. The House just passed President Trump's tax bill, bringing no tax on tips one step closer to the finish line. While it still needs to clear the Senate, this is a big win for hardworking Uber drivers and couriers across the country. And also the Job Creators Network CEO Alfredo Ortiz said congratulations to President Trump and Speaker Johnson for passing their reconciliation bill in the House. The bill offering historic tax cuts for small businesses and ordinary Americans. So, you know, it looks to me as if the 20 core promises, if you remember, before the 20 great reasons to, vote for the big, beautiful bill, the 20 core promises to the American people that we heard about throughout that campaign trail, again, the signature of the first administration, promises made, promises kept. We're seeing that again right now. Now, outside of all of that, we are still looking and waiting to see law and order in the sense of justice being served for various people. I mean, a lot of people talking about that when it comes to people that broke the law over the past 4 years. I would shout out to Ed Martin, who is working within the administration there in the Department of Justice, doing a great job as an attorney. And we look forward to seeing our country continually be saved one day at a time with these huge moves. I mean, this is a constant 24/7 news cycle. On the conservative media side of things, the mainstream media, of course, we know what they do. They always divert and deflect, AKA yesterday, Peter Alexander, NBC News. President Trump called him a jerk and an idiot. If you don't believe me, go ahead and watch on RSBN Live yesterday with that coverage. The president had other things to say about the reporter there. I mean, again, it was quite telling after such a serious issue of whether it's genocide, or the president said he's going to decide on which term he's going to use with that, but the white farmers in South Africa. No matter what, President Trump working on stopping the killing, whether it's in a war, whether it's in a radical group like Hamas or like this economic freedom fighter group, which I looked on X and saw their page and looked at some of the followers' X pages, and they said Marxism and Leninism and all that. Like, they're all about that stuff. So it's kind of goes right in line with that video that we saw from the Oval Office yesterday. And after all of that, and how sad that was to watch that video, and then the fake news tries to divert it from what we just watched, was still, again, I never really saw something so blatantly soulless. We know the fake news lies. We know that's wrong. We know that really brainwashes and tries to divert public opinion, and which is very important. But they've been doing that for so long. But yesterday was blatant. And if you didn't see President Trump's reaction to it, please go ahead and rewatch it right here on Right Side. The replay is on Rumble. It's on YouTube. It's out there for you. And thank you guys for tuning in on Rumble as well. Let's go to Tax Network USA. It's 800-357-1415, a number you see there on your screen. Also, tnusa.com/RSBN is the website. So if you have any back taxes and you want to settle those back taxes, this is the group, patriotic group too. It's always good to have patriots on your side. But just to really get that game plan for you, say you missed 2017 or you missed one of these years, they can help you out. 800-357-1415 is the number. And let's go to Colonial Metals Group as well. So Colonial Metals Group, a great sponsor, and you can get a free info kit on gold and silver by going to freegoldguide.com/RSBN. You can also go to that QR code to get to that info kit information. But it's always good to do that research and that reconnaissance, if you want to call it, about the company you're working with. So this is the great way to do it. So freegoldguide.com/RSBN. You're talking tax-sheltered IRAs, 401ks backed in gold and silver. We know the financial situations can be in flux and go all over the place, but with President Trump in charge, we know it's going to get better and better and better. But still, gold and silver, a great backup plan too with your retirement and your savings. freegoldguide.com/RSBN. All right, so we're 10 minutes away from the 4 o'clock hour. Good afternoon. I've been working a lot of the morning shifts this past week, so it's interesting to be here in the afternoon with you. Thanks for streaming in live. And yeah, so 3:45 is the scheduled start time for the MAHA event. Obviously a few minutes late, and we'll see what time it specifically starts. As soon as we see that live feed, we'll go to it. So why don't we get ready to air the Carolyn Levitt press briefing from earlier today. And as we get that ready, speaking of Carolyn Levitt, about 3 minutes ago, she said House Republicans passed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act last night, the most significant piece of legislation in years. This could not have happened without the president's leadership. And this is, my words here, indirectly the fulfillment of really kicking off. We already kicked off the golden era of America, but this is really the golden age of America with this bill intact. Because, first of all, our taxes are going to drop dramatically. I believe it was $30,000 to $80,000. So if you're an American right now watching and you say, okay, well, I make 30, or you make 40, 50, 60, 70, up to $80,000, it says that you're going to have a 15% drop in your taxes. So that's awesome to see, and looking forward to seeing the extra money in the paycheck because, hey, it takes money to take care of other things. So, yeah, so thank God for President Trump. Okay, so the producer is letting me know that we have a video about yesterday's meeting with the Florida Gators. President Trump and the White House posted this video. Let's take a look.
Today we're delighted to welcome the 2025 NCAA basketball champions, the University of Florida Gators. You brought home the third national title in program history and made Florida the only Division I program ever to win 3 national titles in both basketball and football. That's not bad.
Thank you, Mr. President, for inviting my team and our program to the White House to celebrate our national championship. It means everything to us, so thank you very much. Mr. President, I'd like to think of our program similarly to how you think of the United States. We're a meritocracy, all right? We work really, really hard no matter what you look like, where you come from. If you put the team first and win, we're going to play you. To show a token of our appreciation, we have an autographed team basketball and a Donald Trump jersey with number 47 on it. All right?
Again, congratulations to a well-earned victory, and all I can say is go Gators.
Congratulations to the Florida Gators. It was great to see Tim Tebow there, but very difficult to talk about that right now because obviously we're in Auburn, Alabama. And if any of you remember, I was in San Antonio. We did some RSBN sports coverage with our Auburn Tiger family there as they were in the Final Four. They played really, really good basketball against Florida in the first half, but unfortunately the second half wasn't so great. But still, yeah, so that was yesterday with the Florida Gators there. And also, speaking of videos from the White House, just yesterday, as we stand by and await this MAHA event, the South African president, of course, was in the Oval Office. Let's go to that video as well.
This is a very serious situation. And if we had a real news or real press or media, we don't have that because they won't talk about this. But if we had a real press, it would be exposed. And you know, the beauty of exposing it is it's like a cleansing action. When it gets exposed, it'll get fixed. That's when it'll get fixed. But people don't talk about it. And I'll tell you who's talking about the thousands of people that are fleeing South Africa right now.
Speaking of videos, President Trump just posted something on Truth Social. So as we're awaiting this event in the East Room of the White House, Director, can you guys please look at the latest Truth Social post? And if we can get that, it's like a 30-second video. I'll throw to that once you let me know it's ready. Literally just was posted. So didn't have enough time on our intercoms to let you know. All right, cool. They're going to work on that. All right, so great. We're going to see this. It's a video that President Trump has posted before, so some of you that are watching might be looking at it right now. It's a fun one to talk about. All right, so that was yesterday, of course. A lot of great things happening. We had the press conference earlier today. So if you missed any of our live coverage here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, you can always go to Rumble and follow us on there and hear more about all about what we cover here at the network. Today, of course, was the press briefing with Carolyn Levitt, and then today we're going to have this event that will start in just a few minutes. All right, looking at some top headlines, we know the first one is the big, beautiful bill has passed the House, so we're looking forward to it passing the Senate, getting to President Trump's desk, and hopefully those taxes will drop off as soon as that thing's signed, which would be great to see that sooner than later. We have the East Room event coming up, and then we also are looking at the president's future schedule, May 24th. So this Saturday, the president will have a commencement speech at West Point in New York. We'll have that live for you here on the network. On Monday, May 26th, in Arlington National Cemetery, there will be a wreath-laying ceremony there for Memorial Day. President Trump will be there. We'll have our coverage there. Not sure if we're going to be live yet, but if we are, we'll be here, of course, for that, or we will upload it as well to Rumble and other social media platforms, so you get a look at that moment there. That is very powerful when you honor our military for what they have done for us. And also a shout out to the military right now for all of the things they're doing, specifically along that southern border, and to those that are stationed around the world. Thank you for doing what you do for this country. June 14th, Flag Day, of course, and President Trump's birthday, there will be a U.S. Army military parade celebrating 250 years of the Army, so more than 6,000 soldiers, 150 vehicles, 50 helicopters to follow a parade route from Arlington, Virginia to the National Mall, starting at the Pentagon. Fireworks will follow, so looking forward to that. That's Saturday, June 14th. Then the next day, on the 15th through the 17th, the president will be in Canada for the G7. Not sure specifically which day he'll actually be there or speak or that kind of thing. Carolyn Levitt earlier said more logistics and details will be released, so we'll look forward to that coming up. All right, so getting ready for this this post from Truth Social from President Trump. It's just a quick post, but it's kind of fun to talk about. We'll get to that in a minute. We know that this big, beautiful bill will also deliver the largest tax cut in American history. So that really means an extra $5,000 in Americans' pockets with a double-digit % decrease to their tax bills. So, case in point is if you'd like to call your senator and say, hey, get this thing passed. This is what we want. We're the ones that voted for President Trump. This is what we, the people, want. And that's what President Trump is doing. He's doing the work of us. And that is what I love the most about President Trump, really, is that he is someone that doesn't have that establishment stuff in him. He's not the swamp creature that we've grown to unfortunately have to be around in that nation's capital. Hopefully Washington, D.C. will be made great again. And I was thinking, was it ever great? Yes, it was. George Washington obviously didn't live at the White House, but still, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and others, there were some great times for our nation, for freedom, and for we the people. Of course, we went through a lot of growing pains and a lot of different things, but we have someone in Donald Trump that is really on the right side of history, as you guys know, and really for we the people. And that's one of the main things that I really like about President Trump, and I've brought this out before, and I'll bring it out again. This is the We the People book. And I didn't write it. I have no connection to it other than I bought it the other day. It has the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, Common Sense book by Thomas Paine, the Federalist Papers, and other documents within this whole entire book. You can get it all in that one book there. So it's called We the People, Documents and Writings of the Founding Fathers. So if you want to buy it on Amazon or wherever you want to buy it, We the People, the Documents and Writings of the Founding Fathers. So looking forward to seeing one of the greats here in just a minute. I said it on Truth the other day, and boy, a lot of people liked it. At least 60 or 70. It's not like I have thousands and thousands of followers on Truth, but regardless, I don't really care. I'm just glad that people are there and we're on the same team and we have a community. And I posted that President Trump, and I never said it until this Truth Social post, I said President Trump is the GOAT, the GOAT along with George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Abraham Lincoln. I really believe it. He's the GOAT. After watching what happened yesterday in that the South African Oval Office meeting with the South African president, and then how he handled the fake news and how he showed the video of these people saying what they were saying, it has nothing to do, again, with anything other than stopping the killings of the white farmers. It's not a bad thing. He's doing a great thing for this country. But for him to be so raw and so real for we the people, it means common sense. He's the common sense president. He is the GOAT of presidents, along with George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Abraham Lincoln. All right, so also the big, beautiful bill as we approach right now, we touch the top of the hour, 4 o'clock Eastern time. Looking forward to this Make America Healthy Again event at the East Room of the White House. RFK Jr. will be there. And we will hear more about this commission report. I believe it's called a commission report. Yes, it's a commission event. So there'll be a commission report that we're going to hear some details of the Make America Healthy Again agenda. So we'll hear a lot about that. So looking forward to it. Let's go to that video from President Trump's Truth Social post that he just posted literally minutes ago. Awesome. I know Jesus will be back before all those years happen, I believe. But how funny is that? I mean, that's the great personality that our president has. And the video the other day that Robert McNeely showed, and we showed it for just a second here. Let's go to, why not, right? Make comedy great again. Make conservative comedy great again. Director, let's go to that video from President Trump when he was teeing off at the golf range. Do we have that ready to go? Okay, he's just said 1 second. So we'll stand by. They're getting it ready. But it's a fun video as well when you see the golf ball and it taps the shoulder of Bruce Springsteen, who unfortunately or fortunately, depending on which way you want to call it, fell, a year ago on stage. Bruce, I mean, some of his songs, I'll be honest, I like some of Bruce Springsteen's songs. However, his politics suck. Let's watch this video from President Trump. There you go. All right, so looking forward to the event at the East Room of the White House. Again, Make America Healthy Again event. Let's look at some of the latest news that's happening out there on X right now and on Truth Social. According to Breaking 911, there are some X users that are actually reporting widespread service disruptions about 10 minutes ago. Also, we're seeing the White House post something 32 minutes ago. The One Big Beautiful Bill delivers big, beautiful deportations and shows a huge photo of a C-130 opened up with people that are criminal aliens that are going back to their country. So that was posted by the White House. Back to what Carolyn Levitt said about 22 minutes ago, that House Republicans passed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act last night, the most significant piece of legislation in years. This could not have happened without the president's leadership. President Trump is the greatest closer in the history of presidential politics. That goes along with what I was just saying in a way of him being the GOAT. The One Big Beautiful Bill will implement President Trump's Make America Great Again agenda by delivering the largest tax cut in American history, the largest border security investment in history, and the largest deficit reduction in nearly 3 decades. The Senate should pass this critical legislation as soon as possible to usher in America's golden age. Okay, so when we talk all this positivity, right, which is very positive and it's great and it's wonderful, we still have 3 years plus to go with President Trump at the helm, as the quarterback, as the coach, as the leader, as the commander-in-chief. We still want our country to be saved. It's not saved just in the past 120 days and that's it. We know that there's still more work to do. I know.
Nothing like it. There's nothing like it. Every time I walk in, I say, man, this place is something special. You never get used to it. It really is. as we mark a historic milestone in our mission to make America healthy again. You know, we started Make America Great Again, Bobby. I'm not sure you can get away with that without having to make a major payment because, you know, this was...
I copyright
MAHA. He goes to MAHA. But no, MAHA's become hot. Over the past few years, we've built an unstoppable coalition of moms and dads, doctors and young people and citizens of all backgrounds who have come together to protect our children, very importantly, keep the dangerous chemicals out of our food supplies, get toxic substances out of our environment, and deliver the American people the facts as to really where we're going. And we want to have what we deserve, and we want to be healthy, and we want to have a lot of good things happen, and I think we're going to have that. I think this is just the beginning. We have some of the most brilliant people sitting on this panel, and likewise in the audience, I recognize so many. Many of them are in the administration. With us today is the man who fought harder than anyone I know to bring these issues to the center of American politics, our Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. Bobby, thank you very much. And we're also joined by Secretaries Brooke Rollins, Scott Turner, Linda McMahon, Doug Collins, Doug Burgum, Lori Chavez DeReamer. You're doing a very good job, Lori. You know, she's considering she's a Democrat. You know, the unions say she's really good. I did it. You know, I took a lot of heat for doing it, and then they were all saying what a great job we did. Now everybody's happy with you. Great job. Thank you very much. As well as EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, Budget Director Russ Vaught, SBA Administrator Kelly Loeffler. Kelly's been amazing. She runs small business, which is actually the biggest business there is, right? She had no idea how big. She's doing great. FDA Commissioner Dr. Marty McCary. Thank you, Marty. NIH Director Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. Thank you very much, Jay. Thank you. And let's see, who do we have here? CMS Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz, a tremendous guy, actually. Thank you very much, Mehmet. A friend of mine, a really great senator, Roger Marshall. Roger, thank you. Governors Mike Braun, Jim Pilon, Patrick Morrissey, Representatives Vern Buchanan, former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. Newt, a very quiet man. Very silent man. Nice to see you, Newt. 4 months ago, I created the Presidential Commission to Make America Healthy Again, and today the Commission officially delivers its first report on childhood health. Here are just some of the alarming findings, and they really are alarming. It's unbelievable, terrible. More than 40% of American children now have at least one chronic health condition. Since the 1970s, rates of childhood cancer have soared in many cases by nearly 50%, 50%. Well, in the 1960s, less than 5% of the children were obese. Now over 20% are obese. A few decades ago, 1 in 1, think of this one. This is, to me, the one that gets me every time, and it seems to be getting worse. Just a few decades ago, 1 in 10,000 children had autism. Today, it's 1 in 31. Last time I heard the number is 1 in 34, right? Now it's 1 in 31. There's something wrong, and we will not stop until we defeat the chronic disease epidemic in America. We're going to get it done. For the first time ever, this report examines some of the root causes that many believe are making our children sicker and our population sicker, I guess. It just doesn't stop with the children. It's our population also, such as the ultra-processed foods, over-medicalization and over-prescription and widespread exposure to potentially toxic chemicals. Unlike other administrations, we will not be silenced or intimidated by the corporate lobbyists or special interests, and I want this group to do what they have to do. We have to spell it out. In some cases, it won't be nice or it won't be pretty, but we have to do it. When you hear 10,000, it was 1 in 10,000, and now it's 1 in 31 for autism. I think that's just a terrible thing. It has to be something on the outside, has to be artificially induced, has to be. And will not allow our public health system to be captured by the very industries it's supposed to oversee. So we're demanding the answers. The public is demanding the answers, and that's why we're here. Already we're phasing out 8 of the most common artificial food dyes. And we ended the most serious conflicts of interest at the FDA. We had a lot of conflicts over there. Earlier this week, we approved a SNAP waiver request from Nebraska so they can stop taxpayer dollars from being used to make our children obese. I understand requests from 3 more states will be approved shortly, and more are expected to come in the following weeks. Over the next 80 days, the Commission will build on its work in this report to develop a roadmap to bold and transformative public health reforms for our consideration. It's a consideration, and we'll lay out the facts. Let me say congratulations to the entire MAHA movement. This movement has become very hot. People are really, I tell you, they're going crazy over MAHA. They're going crazy, right? And I look forward to continuing the historic progress. And I will say this whole group, this whole table, they're very, I use a word that's because it's a beautiful word, actually. The Democrats took it and they used it instead of the word liberal. They used the word progressive. And normally I'd say you're very progressive, meaning you're far. They're not progressive. You are progressive. They shouldn't be allowed to use that word. And so therefore I'm not going to use it to describe you, but you are far forward thinkers. You're amazing thinkers, and we appreciate having you. There's this tremendous talent around this table, the most respected people anywhere in the world, actually. And I've been a fan of Bobby for years. He came up to see me 13, 14, 15 years ago, I remember, and he left. And I made a couple of the statements that he made because I agreed with the same thing, and we both went through hell. Do you remember that? It was a massive, but you know what? We turned out to be right. It was sort of interesting. But I've been a friend of Bobby, and he's been a foe, too. He's tried to stop a couple of my jobs. In one case, he did stop a job, and I was really angry. And then about 4 months later, we went into like a depression. And I saved a hell of a lot of money by the fact that you stopped it.
You're welcome.
So I never minded. I always said, thank you very much for stopping that big job I was going to do. But he's a fantastic guy, and Bobby, we're with you all the way. And your beautiful wife is right sitting in the front row, and she's always been right there with you. And, it was very interesting. When Bobby came, I really wanted Bobby to join, and he was doing very well as a candidate, really well. He was being treated very unfairly by the other side, but he was doing so well that they treated you unfairly. They had no choice. I think they said, in order to qualify, Newt, you had to have 80% of the vote. Okay, do you remember that deal? You had to have 80% of the vote in order to qualify to run against Joe Biden. And Bobby thought that was a little unfair, and that was about it. And he came on board, and we got very lucky. But you really helped, and I want to thank you very much, really. We're with you all the way. So Bobby, if you'd say, give him your thoughts, please.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. I do want to say something, because I get a lot of credit for steering this administration toward the MAHA movement. But I joined the campaign in August. I joined President Trump in August and became, went from independent to his campaign. But it was in June that he made a speech specifically on this issue. It was a MAHA speech before MAHA existed. And I took note of that speech at the time and thought there's a potential here for a common ground. I want to thank you for your vision, for your courage, for standing up. President Trump is a populist president. He's a president, he's blamed for giving money to billionaires and all this stuff. We hear about that all the time. But he is on the side of the middle class, the working class, the poor in this country, people. And I've been following, I've met every president since my uncle was president, and I've never seen a president, Democrat or Republican, that is willing to stand up to industry when it's the right thing to do, and they're willing to talk about really difficult issues and to hold his stand on those issues. I've never seen anything like it, and I'm very, very grateful to you. I've sat with industry again and again in a room with him and heard him say, we can't do that. We're going to do something different, deliver news that they didn't want to hear. So I'm grateful to this. This is a milestone. There's never in American history has the federal government taken a position on public health like this. And because of President Trump's leadership, it's not just one cabinet secretary, it's the entire government that is behind this report. And I can say again, I talked a little bit about when I met Rachel Carson as a boy. My uncle tried to do this, but he was killed and it never got done. And ever since then, we've been waiting for a president who would stand up and speak on behalf of the health of the American people and say, there is no difference between good economic policy, good environmental policy, and good public health policy, and good industrial policy. We can have all of them, but we need a united cabinet, and we need to go forward as a single people. I want to thank you for that, President Trump.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
At its core, this report is a call to action for common sense. We've relied too much on conflicted research, ignored common sense, or what some would call mother's intuition. It's common sense that ultra-processed, nutrient-poor food contributes to chronic disease. It's common sense that excessive screen time and isolation lead to anxiety and depression, especially in children. It's common sense that exercise and healthy food should come before prescriptions and surgery. It's common sense that not all calories are equal in nutritional value. It's common sense that over-medicating kids is dangerous. It's common sense that we can celebrate the innovations of modern life while also demanding fearless inquiry into ameliorating the negative effects of medication, agriculture, and environmental practices. It's common sense that research funded by corporations deserves more scrutiny than independent studies. I'm so proud of this cabinet, and particularly Secretary Rollins and Administrator Zeldin, who, again, I'll say it a third time, work late nights, early into the morning to make this happen, and to all the leadership from the White House staff, beginning with Stephen Miller, and Heidi Overton, Dr. Heidi Overton, with Vince Haley. Their leadership and their steady hand in getting us to the goal line we could not have done it without them. They helped us grapple with weighty issues and committed this administration to solving large, complex challenges like children's health. We're joined here by senators, advocates, governors who I have worked with, and CEOs who I know who are all ready to begin carrying out this mission. This is the beginning of a conversation, a national conversation that we are going to have with maturity, with nuance, for the first time in history, thanks to your leadership, President Trump. There is a reason that the MAHA moms sided with you, President Trump. It's because this administration has the bravery to tell the truth and solve problems through innovation and not nanny state regulation. President Trump, I'm honored to present you the MAHA report and work with this incredible cabinet that you have brought together to make our children healthy again.
Three things. First, on behalf of an extremely grateful nation and on behalf of a lot of extremely grateful MAHA moms who are out there Secretary Kennedy and Mr. President, thank you. I see a MAHA mom and grandma and our amazing Chief of Staff right there, Susie Wiles. I see a MAHA mom and Caroline Levitt all across our cabinet. Sir, my oldest son, Luke, is here. Stand up, Luke. I am a MAHA mom of 4. And this hits particularly close to home for every single one of us in this room. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you mentioned, sir, in your remarks that we are on track to sign multiples of SNAP waivers to get junk food and sugary drinks out of our food stamp system. And I am so proud. I am so proud to announce that on Monday I was in Nebraska with Governor Pillen where we signed the first one. An hour ago I signed the second one for Governor Braun in Indiana. He may not even know that. I've got it right here, sir. I also signed the third one, Governor Kim Reynolds of Iowa, about an hour ago. With a half a dozen more coming down the line. And sir, that has never happened before. Under Republican or Democrat administrations, we have never made that happen before. So I am so proud and so grateful for your leadership.
We have Governor Morrissey here, who was the first one to apply from West Virginia.
Oh, Governor Morrissey. We will make sure you're at the top of the pile, sir. I apologize. Governor Sanders has been a leader. Governor Polis from Colorado. It has been remarkable how these governors have stood up. That's the second thing. The third and final thing, sir, is we all know that at the center of making America healthy again is making American agriculture great again. Without American agriculture at the center of this discussion, we have the most robust, the safest, the best agriculture system in the world. And in partnership with the amazing Secretary Kennedy and all of these incredible patriots sitting around this table, under the leadership of the extraordinary President Donald J. Trump, we will make America healthy again. And what an honor it is to be a part of that. Well, thank you, sir.
Mr. Policy Man, you want to say something? Big policy man here.
Well, so much has already been said, but in your remarks, Mr. President, you made clear.
This is Vince Haley, by the way.
In your remarks and in the report, it's very clear that there are no sacred cows when it comes to our children's health. We are showing the courage to turn over every stone to figure out, to investigate what is behind the chronic childhood disease crisis, and that's what this report represents, sir.
Thank you, Vince. Thank you. You want to have other people speak? We've had everybody speak. Oh, good. Most have already spoken. That's very good. But the fake news wasn't here. What's going on? I mean, Oz, I want to thank you for your work. Would you have anything to say to the media?
Thank you, sir. I think it's a moral failing if we don't address this, but it's definitely a financial failing as well. 50% of children are on Medicaid or on the CHIP program. It is an obligation we all have to address this reality. As you know, the cost of Medicaid has gone up 50% in 5 years.
Right.
I thank you very much for having the bravery to commission this report, and Secretary Kennedy, Secretary Rollins, Lee Zeldin, and everybody else on this panel for being able to effect what has not been done since this law for Medicare and Medicaid was written in 1965. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Oz. Thank you. A man who's just so highly respected, Dr. Marty McCary. Would you say a couple of words, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. The United States is the best in the world when it comes to proton beam therapy, CAR-T, sophisticated operations. But when it comes to the health of the population, it's been a 50-year failure. And we have got to change course, and it's not until you have had the courage to let us take on these giant issues, as Vince Haley said, without any sacred cows that we've been able to change. And I think this will transform our healthcare system from a reactionary system where doctors are playing whack-a-mole to a proactive system. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Thank you, man. Highly respected man. Jay, please say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I said earlier already that it's shocking to me that what this report says, which is that our kids will live less long, less healthy, more unhappy lives than we will as parents. We can't have that. I'm so proud to be part of this moment because that doesn't have to be the future. We can change things by doing excellent gold standard science, understanding the root causes of all these problems, reversing it. And Mr. President, this is an enormously important moment because it's from this moment forward we will reverse course so our kids will live longer than us, will live more healthy than us, and will be happier than we have been. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Good job, too. I have to say we have the greatest farmers in the world, and we love our farmers, and we want to pay respect to our farmers, and we always will. And we won the farmers by a lot in the election, in every election, all three elections, and we won by a lot, and I will never forget that, and they are foremost in our thought. And representing, I think, the farmers better than just about anybody can do is Senator Roger Marshall. Could you say a couple of words, Roger, please?
Mr. President, we're not tired of winning yet. Congratulations. What a week you've had overseas, one win after another, one big beautiful bill across the House floor this morning. You're the best closer in the game, and this is one of the greatest days of my life professionally speaking as well. And I just want to acknowledge my MAHA mom out here as well, that my wife, Lena, was a MAHA nurse and a MAHA mom and a MAHA grandma. Now, Lena, will you please stand up as well, my wife? Mr. President, as you know, I spent 25 years delivering babies most every day. We saw a huge epidemic of diabetes, of pregnancy, and this has exploded in so many different directions now. We have an epidemic in mental health in our youth, obesity rates 20%, 30%, of our children on a prescription drug, 60-70% of adults on a prescription drug. We can do better than this. And it does start with the farmer. It starts with soil health. And I just want you to know that our farmers are so committed to this as well. And so many of them are already doing great things. They're making the soil healthier. They're using less pesticides. They're doing all the right things. It's going to take a little bit more effort and time to get everybody with those practices. But the American farmer and rancher were the original environmentalists, the original conservationists, and they'll be right here working beside us, and we appreciate your support of them as well.
Thank you, Roger. Great. Thank you. So I think I'll close by just saying that something happened a week ago that was very, very important, profound, but very important in so many ways. For years, I noticed that other countries paid much less for drugs and pharmaceuticals than we did. But I don't mean 2% less or 10%, which would be good, but I don't mean 20 or 25 or 30%. I mean sometimes we paid 10 times more, 12 times more, 13 times more than other countries, where people from our country would be seen going into Mexico and seen going into other countries, leaving on trips and bringing their drugs home because they'd get in London, they'd be able to buy a drug for 1/10 the price of what it costs in New York City. And I watched this. And I watched it during my term, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it. And it's a very complex system, but, you know, we're smart also, maybe much smarter than they are. And at some point, we had to figure out, and I heard it was the middleman. Nobody told me who the middleman was. Nobody knew who the middleman was. Nobody ever heard. All I heard is the middleman. I said, they've got to be the richest people in the world, whoever they are. We don't even know if there is a middleman. All I know is that the drugs were 10 times higher and sometimes more than that. And I really got into it over the last year, and I figured the whole system out. And for various and sundry reasons, the United States of America was being screwed, and we were being taken advantage of and being laughed at for years and years. And I said, it's not going to happen anymore. And I brought a great gentleman, the head of Eli Lilly, in, who's great. He really is. He's great. He's done a fantastic job. And others also of the companies. And I'd have it out with him. I had debates with him, actually. And pretty much it was a debate that was impossible to lose. You had to be a real bad debater to lose that debate, because they couldn't justify it. They tried to say, well, you know, we pay for research and development, and the United States has agreed to pay for 100%. I said, why? Why are we paying? And by the way, that wasn't even the number, because it's still way too high if you took all the research and development. But you have other countries that are a lot more vicious than us in terms of their representatives. And they'd set a price for a drug, and they'd say, tell the United States to pay for the rest. We were subsidizing the whole world. And I said, we're not going to do that anymore. We've been a laughing stock for so many years. The last 4 years, we've been a laughing stock. I said it. We were a laughing stock, and now we're the most respected, and we're the hottest country in the world. We're going to remain that way. We're going to do that with drug costs, too. And so I said, I'm going to do something that's a very unpopular thing to do with a small number of people, mainly the people that own the drug companies and others. And I'm not even blaming them. They were able to get away with it. But it was really other nations that took advantage of us, because the drug companies were under their thumb. And they would say, this is what I'm going to pay. And the European Union was right at the top of the list. Let me tell you, we're going to pay $20 for this, and we're not going to pay any more. And America would pay $240 for the same thing that they're paying $20. They said, tell America to pay for the rest. And for years, they went along aimlessly, and they did it. And I started making changes, and I'll never forget the end of my first term, which was very successful. We had the best stock market ever. We had the best economy ever of any president. We went up 88% in the stock market, as an example, and I think 116% in one of the other indices. And we had, we're doing well, but this whole thing with the drug costs always bothered me. And I started really studying it, and it's very complicated stuff. And I said, you know what? We are paying so much more. And I demanded favored nations. We're the biggest buyer. We're the best buyer. We're the most solid buyer. We're the one that paid for all of the research and development. And I said, we're going to do something that's earth-shattering. So at the end of my first term, I was so proud, because it's the first time in 28 years that any president reduced drug prices during the course of 4 years. And you know what the number was? 1/4 of 1%. But it was down 1/4. Think of it, 1/4 of 1%. Very little. Essentially, they remained the same. But I wanted to get it down, and I was so proud. I thought I was the greatest guy in the world. I took it down 1/4 of 1%, and I had news conferences. I was bragging. I'm the only one that did it 28 years. And then I said, that's not very much, because we were still paying so much more. And I decided I've got to break the system. And it's the most powerful lobby in the world, the drug company. Most powerful, they are the most powerful. And I'm not saying bad, good, I'm not saying anything, but they have tremendous power over the Senate, over the House, over the governors, over everybody. And they spend more money, billions and billions of dollars. And I said, I don't care. I have to do what's right. And I declared a favored nations, most favored nations, where the United States from now on is going to pay the exact same price as the lowest price anywhere in the world. In other words, if you take... Right? In other words, if you take the country that's paying, and let's say in a certain part of, there may be some country out there that pays a little bit less for very good reasons, because of the fact, a thing called poverty or whatever. But we take the lowest country, say European Union countries as a whole, that would be fine. Or take individual countries within the European Union, or take various countries that nobody's even heard about. We pay the lowest. And what that's going to mean, and I'd like to put somebody to police it, because it should start immediately. It shouldn't start in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. They'll say, yes, it kicks in. They always say kicks in, Marty. It kicks in, sir, in 4 years, and then 4 years they get it changed. It should mean, so remember I told you I was happy with 1/4 of 1%. it could mean anywhere from 70% to 89% reduction in drugs and pharmaceuticals. That's a little different, right? And I've actually had some congressmen call me and they say, "Sir, can we talk about this?" I said, "No." They wanted to talk because, you know, there's tremendous power against them. And I understand that. And every one of them was covered. Senators were. I see Roger smiling, and Roger probably was too. But you know what? He wants to do the right thing, right? He wants to do the right thing. And we're doing the right thing. We're taken advantage of, and forget the drug companies, we're taken advantage of by other countries that insisted with the drug companies that they were going to pay X dollars, and we're not paying any more, and you're not doing business here. And they were nasty about it. These people are almost sort of afraid of them. And we are going to now get a reduction in drug costs of up to 89% in some cases, but 50% would be a bad number. So think of that. 50% versus 1/4%. Think of that. 85, 89, 91, 72%. It's going to be massive numbers. It's going to be incredible for Medicaid, incredible for all forms of health care. Medicare is going to have a huge impact, so big that nobody can calculate it. I mean, this thing could drop by 25, 30%. The drugs are a very big part of it, right? So very big part. So it'll affect everything. It'll affect your whole life. The amount of money you're going to be saving is going to be incalculable. Nobody can believe I had the courage to do it. I don't think it's courage. I think it would have been courage not to do it. I tell you what, not to do it would have taken far more courage because I was tired of it. And I was listening to these guys, and they are, you know, they make a lot of money every year, millions and millions of dollars a year. And I agree, because at the beginning, because of the complexity, you'd walk out of a room, you'd hear them talking, and, you know, they almost convince you that it's a great system, it's a wonderful system, even though we were paying 10 times more. That's why they make $30 million a year, because they were good, but not any longer. And one of them just threw up his hands after I was just pounding on him. He said, "I can't do it anymore. It's the hardest thing I have to do is trying to justify this damn thing. I can't do it anymore. One of the biggest companies, I just can't do it anymore. You're right." And as soon as he said that, that was like incredible, because I understood exactly he couldn't do it. He said it's the hardest thing he had to do is trying to justify why we're paying $200 for something and somebody else is paying $12. That is a neighboring country. Take Canada. I mean, people go up to Canada to shop because the prices are so much less, and it's not going to happen anymore. So we're going to take the lowest country anywhere in the world, and that's what we're going to be paying, and we'll be saving from 50 to 89%. And these are big, these are tremendous numbers. There's not going to be anything where we're paying 10 times more than somebody else. And one thing that is very important, and it's got to be implemented, it's done. I've done the order, it's done. But we have to get somebody that's got a lot of strength and a lot of power, because you have to implement it, because these countries are going to go down fighting. They don't want this to happen because they're going to go up. Now, there are many more people involved in the world than there are here. So they'll go up a little bit, maybe 15, 20%, and we're going to go down 60, 70, or 80%. But they will fight the drug companies. The drug companies are very worried that they're going to fight, and that's okay. If they fight, we'll just say, that's okay. We are not going to let you sell any more cars into the United States, or we're not going to let you sell any more wine or liquor or alcohol or something that's actually much more important to them than the drugs. And we're going to be able to force that issue if we need to. They should do it. We're basically equalizing. They should do it. And, you know, the drug companies should do just as well. There shouldn't be a hit on their stock. I don't think it will be. It's basically... it's going to be the same amount of money, but it's going to be redistributed, and it's going to be redistributed, so they're going to pay a little bit more, and we're going to pay a lot less. A little bit more because there's so many more. So, you know, it's a bigger number. And so, Bobby, I'd like to ask you and Dr. Oz and Marty, perhaps, and Jay, and maybe representing the world's politicians, I can ask Roger, who's so great with this whole subject, if you would be very, very tough and very, very... very powerful in a sense. It's not easy. You know, you're going to have to get this done. The drug companies are going to say, well, they won't do it. and maybe they won't. And if they don't do it, we're going to not do business with that country or those countries. But we're going to have to be very tough until it's totally stabilized and equalized. And Oz, I mean, I see your eyes are gleaming because you've been talking about this for a long time, but you've never had anyone willing to do it. But I'm willing to do it. And I think it's going to go down as one of the most important things we've ever done because drug costs are going down. Think of it. Then every year for 21 years, the costs have gone up. And now they're going down maybe by 85, 80. I'm telling you, 89% in 2 instances, 89% cut. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. So I'd like to ask Oz in particular, because you and I know each other. He's a very tough hombre, this one. He's tough as hell. And so if you can lead the group, and it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to get in and you're going to have to fight. If you do it, you can have within a period of weeks, you can have drug costs that drop like a rock, okay? So you as a group, I have great confidence. And if you don't do it, I am firing every single one of you. Good luck, guys. All right? Can you handle it?
The companies are all coming in. We've had some very promising interactions. So
Okay, good.
I give you a little time to be a tough hombre.
You'll do a great job. I have no doubt about it. Thank you very much. Any help, I will be there to help you, okay?
But you mentioned something that has not been discussed in the past. People have talked about drug prices in a silo and in isolation. But when you start going to the countries where they give discounts to because they're getting beaten up there and you support these companies, they see a huge upside potential, and even greater than the numbers you mentioned.
Right.
They should be able to charge more than what they would historically have been tolerant of if they have the support of the U.S. government and you. And Secretary Kennedy is aware of all these discussions.
Well, they were artificially low and artificially high. We were artificially high. They were artificially low. We're not going to let that. And I think you're going to be able to handle it pretty easily. But speed is very important because we can do this immediately. This doesn't take 2 years, 3 years. It doesn't take a month. So do the best you can. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bobby. Are we concluded, Bobby?
Yes.
Go ahead. Why don't you
Thank you,
finish it
Mr.
off?
President. Let's all give a hand for President Trump for his leadership.
Thank you.
Well, there you go, live here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. 4:42, Thursday, May 22nd, from the East Room of the White House. Great coverage right here, and if you missed anything, you could always replay or scrub back or rewind if you'd like, or just watch the replay later. Always good to just save the link wherever you are watching. Those of you watching on Rumble, thank you for doing so. Let's go with this. All Family Pharmacy, a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. We spoke with the owner and founder, Michael Kunler, just a minute ago, prior to this event that you just saw on Right Side. So you can check out that interview if you'd like too. Allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, methylene blue, all these different medications, even amoxicillin, penicillin, that kind of thing. If you're looking to get that shipped to you, you can go through allfamilypharmacy.com to do so. Now, they have a sale up until the end of June. It's 20% off, as you see there. RSBN20 is the code. So allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. All right, let's thank a number of sponsors, including Colonial Metals Group, freegoldguide.com/RSBN as well. If you'd like to get a free gold guide in the mailbox, you can use that QR code too. mypillow.com/RSBN. You can get 50% off for the beach sale there. A lot of products on the great My Pillow. So thank you, Mike Lindell, and thank you for everything that he is doing in this country and has continued to do, including talking about his great salvation story, really down in the dumps, hit rock bottom, but was able to overcome all that through Jesus, through faith, through grit, through not giving up. And then look what he's done, doing pretty good. MyPillow.com/RSBN. Thanks again for watching us here on Right Side. If you'd like to donate to the network, all you have to do is text RSBN to 801-801. So just text RSBN to 801-801 as we continue to cover America First news, conservative news, and everything else that's going on out there. But, definitely not with the spin that the left wing gives you. It's just common sense stuff. That's what we like to do here. Just share with you what's happening, just like we showed you the entire event there. All right, that wraps it up for us. For all of us at Right Side Broadcasting Network, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We will see you again soon.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First news. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.